The Latin Kings are anything but new kids on the block. One group was in the Illinois jail system 50 years ago. Another group was known as the Latin Angels on the streets of Chicago. Nightline's Dave Maris shows how they have flourished for years in New York.
We were a gang back in the days. There's no hiding, no covering the sky with blue.
When Harry Roman joined the Latin Kings back in 1969, he says, he gained a lot of neighborhood respect because the Kings provided a crucial community service.
Basically, it was to protect the neighborhood from people coming from the outside who would want to come and rob people in the neighborhood.
By the late 1970s, Harry Roman's generation of Latin Kings had pretty well quit the streets to raise families, and the gang disappeared. Then in 1986, in a New York State prison, Luis Felipe, King Blood, brought the Latin Kings back to life. King Blood's prison gang was essentially a mutual protection and assistance group of inmates, united by their Latin cultural identity and by a rigid set of rules of conduct, devised, defined, and personally directed for almost 11 years until this past February by King Blood himself.
They had a manifesto, a set of very specific rules as to how to live, eat, walk around, travel. I mean, almost every aspect of their lives rigidly controlled, essentially by Felipe.
U.S. Attorney Mary Jo White, who recently convicted Felipe, King Blood, and some 50 members of the Latin Kings on charges ranging up to conspiracy to murder, says the cult-like discipline of the Latin Kings was enforced through
extreme violence. I mean, although we see a lot of extreme violence, but this took it to a greater height.
Of the more than half a dozen murders ordered from his prison cell by King Blood, the one prosecutors remember best was the assassination of Little Man, William Cartagena.
He was dismembered. His head was cut off, hands were cut off, and other pieces of his body actually cut off as well. So,
and even a tattoo was literally cut off of his body.
That's absolutely right. The crown, which is the Latin King tattoo, was physically cut out of his body.
If King Tone really is rejecting King Blood's old brutality, prosecutors ask, then why did he bring a contingent of followers to every single day of his predecessor's trial?
I wanted them to get a straight feeling of what it is to stand before a judge and get sentenced and go away for a long time. And I showed them that you cannot take the law into your own hands. We got to respect the laws of this country. And I think they got a pretty clear view of Luis being sentenced to 45 years to solitary confinement. I think my message was so much easier heard after that sentencing.
From inside his cell at the Metropolitan Correction Center in Manhattan, King Blood's former lieutenant, Jose Gabriel, King Teardrop, says King Tone's makeover of the Latin Kings has the old leadership's full support.
What we worry about most is what's called the Pee Wee Kings and the Pee Wee Queens. This is the future. And what we want to do is definitely mend them into positive thinking people, try to show them, that there's no future in the street, there's no future in selling drugs, there's no future in committing crimes.
It's this realization that there are no prospects in a life of crime that sociologist David Brotherton says is driving King Tone and other reform-minded gang leaders in New York.
I don't see why they shouldn't be sincere in terms of reforming. And what's the future out there for them? What is the future out there? It's certainly not anymore within the prison system. It's got to be in some other kind of political, economic, social transformation. And they've seen the light. Well, good luck to them.
They can talk about reform. They can talk about being community activists on the outside. I can tell you on the inside, there is no reform.
New York City's Deputy Corrections Commissioner Bernard Carrick regards the whole Latin King reform as something of a hoax. Inside his prisons, he says, he sees no evidence the bad guys are changing their ways.
They are no different today than they were 2 years ago. They are no less violent than they were 2 years ago.
But Commissioner Carrick's own statistics show slashings and other violence have dropped in the past 2 years at the city's big Rikers Island prison. Why? Carrick says credit better work from his department. King Tone says the real credit should go to the better attitudes of Latin King inmates.
I came here to tell you there's peace.
King Tone's peace project extends beyond prison to some of the city's toughest streets. At this gathering in Harlem, he joined hands with the leaders of the predominantly African-American gang, the Zulu Nation.
Help me keep my daughter alive, and I'll promise to help you keep yours alive, and then we'll save the community. Amor del Rey.
Is there more going on here than precious words and pious hopes? Law enforcement professionals do not think the Latin Kings have truly changed.
All of that history, and its very recent history, gives us an awful lot of skepticism about this very recent attempt to put a different facade, a different face on the Latin Kings. And we've seen it before, too.
Meanwhile, King Tone is fixing an abandoned school building on Manhattan's Lower East Side. He wants the city to give it to the community, and he wants the city to give him some breathing space as well.
They expect me to succeed without failure. Here comes King Tone, a new face, and this load is thrown on his shoulders. You better not fail, because then it shows that you're a liar. Man, some of the steps I am going to make mistakes, but please don't be so critical of me, man. I'm learning to do this. We just started doing this. Give us a chance. That's what I'm saying.
A chance, a building, and maybe even some money for programs. King Tone is asking for a lot, but he says there's a lot at stake for his gang, his community, and for the city of New York. So far, at least, all King Tone has gotten are a few best wishes and a lot more deep doubts. Ted?